have been studying the genre of drama. Drama, unlike other forms of fiction, is directly influenced by its purpose. A play is written to be performed on stage rather than just read. You'll see references to characters, scenery, action, and stage directions. You'll also see elements of realistic fiction, historical fiction, fantasy, and sometimes mystery. We learn through the genre of drama that we recognize specific structures like character tags and stage directions. But just like with any other forms of fiction, we also explore figurative language, invert theme, and we can also summarize the text. We've talked about theme, or the lesson or moral of the story, the message that the author is trying to convey. Remember that the theme of a specific story is just not specific to the story. Remember that the theme of a story is just not specific to the story. The lesson can be learned by us, the readers. The theme can be implied to our lives. The theme can be applied to our lives, even if we haven't gone through the same experiences as the characters. One way we can find the theme of a story is by thinking about the character and what she or he goes through. Then we can think about how to apply this to our own lives. Let's jump into our learning goals. Today, we will make connections. We're going to make connections to personal experiences, ideas in other texts, and society. We will make inferences and use evidence to support our understanding. We will infer multiple things within a text using text evidence. And we will retell, paraphrase, or summarize text. In ways that maintain meaning and logical order. There is academic vocabulary specific to our story. Setting. Can you remember the definition of setting? Setting is when and where the story takes place. The setting. Dialogue. Dialogue. The words said by the characters. It's dialogue. The words said by the characters. Character tags. Character tags. Character tags are the labels before lines or dialogue to show which character is speaking. The actors know who's speaking when and where because of the character tags. Play. A play is a story that can be performed by actors on a stage for an audience. Scenes. The action that takes place in a single setting. Remember, when the setting changes, the scene changes. And finally, stage directions. written instructions telling the actors what to do. Usually, you will see stage directions in italics, brackets, or parentheses. Now, for today's story, I'd like to share a couple of strategies with you. Last week, we learned how to look at lines from the play, actions from the lines, take your schema or background knowledge. What does this reveal about the character? Or what do we infer? So today, we will continue with this strategy. Remember, good readers look for signs along the way. Lines from the play, actions from the lines, background knowledge. What does this reveal about the characters? Or what do you infer? Today's story is called Mother Holly. Mother Holly was written by the Grimm brothers in the 1800s, but I adapted it today because I wanted to. The Mother Holly was written by the Grimm brothers in the 1800s. I adapted the story into play form so that we could meet our learning needs. With today's story, you'll see critical vocabulary like the word pitch. Pitch. Pitch is a multiple meaning word. And when I see the word pitch, I typically think about baseball. But in this case, pitch is a black or dark slimy substance made from plant residue. In the past, people used pitch to waterproof boats and other products. Pitch. Idle. Idle. Idle means to be lazy. Someone is idle if she or he avoids work and that person is considered lazy. Then he or she is idle. Industrious. What a long word. Industrious. Industrious is the opposite of idle. If a person is industrious, that person is diligent and hardworking. Industrious means to be diligent and hardworking. And finally, we have the word shuttle. Shuttle. A shuttle is a device used for threading string or yarn. Shuttle is a device used for threading string or yarn. In our story, you will see sentence stems or questions that are critical in understanding the key features of our story. Which is the best summary of the play? Today, we're going to summarize. Which is the best summary of the play? What is the purpose of lines blank? What is the purpose of lines blank? It's important to understand why playwrights write what they write. Blank is an important prop in the play because. Blank is an important prop in the play because. What do lines blank and blank reveal about the character? What do lines blank and blank reveal about the characters? Now let's get to our play. Mother Holly by the Grimm brothers, adapted by Vanetta Dupree. This is the narrator, there once was a widow who had two daughters, one of whom was pretty and industrious, while the other was ugly and idle. But she was much fonder of the ugly and idle one because she was her own daughter, and the other, who was her stepdaughter, was obliged to do all the work, and the Cinderella of the house is what she was referred by. Every day, the poor girl had to sit by a well on the high road and spin until her fingers bled. Now let's think about lines 1 and 8, lines 1 through 8. What is the purpose of lines 1 through 8? I'll read them again. There once was a widow who had two daughters, one of whom was pretty and industrious, while the other was ugly and idle. But she was much fonder of the ugly and idle one because she was her own daughter, and the other, who was a stepdaughter, was obliged to do all the work and be the Cinderella of the house. Every day the poor girl had to sit by a well on the high road and spin until her fingers bled. Think about lines 1 through 8. What is the purpose of lines 1 through 8? So far, it provides the background information on the main characters. Remember when we studied fiction, traditional tales? We learned that we call that the exposition. The exposition is the background information, including main characters and plot. Now it happened that one day the shuttle was marked with her blood, so she dipped it in the well to wash the mark off, but it dropped out of her hand and fell to the bottom. She began to weep and ran to her stepmother and told of the mishap. But she scolded her sharply and was so mercilessly, stepmother, with a scolding frown. Since you have let the shuttle fall in, you must fetch it out again. Narrator. So the girl went back to the well and did not know what to do. And in the sorrow of her heart, she jumped into the well to get the shuttle. She lost her senses, and when she awake, she came to herself again. She was in a lovely meadow where the sun was shining and many thousands of flowers were growing. Along this meadow she went, and at last came to a baker's oven full of bread. And the bread called out, Bread, oh, take me out, or I shall burn, for I have been baking for a long time. So she went up to it and took out all the loaves, one after another, with the bread shovel. After that, she went on till she came to a tree covered with apples, which called out to her, Apple tree and apples. Oh, shake me. We apples are all ripe. Narrator. So she shook the tree till the apples fell like rain and went on shaking till they were all down. And when she had gathered them into a heap, she went on her way. Think about the author's use of imagery. Couldn't you visualize, or couldn't you just imagine all of the apples falling? So she shook the tree till the apples fell like rain. Must have been a lot of them. At last she came to a little house, out of which an old woman peeped. But she had such large teeth that the girl was frightened and was about to run away. But the old woman called out to her, Mother Holly, what are you afraid of, dear child? Stay with me. If you will do all the work in the house properly, you shall be better for it. Only you must take care to make my bed well, and to shake it thoroughly till the feathers fly, for then there is snow on the earth. I am Mother Holly. Narrator. As the old woman spoke so kindly to her, the girl took courage and agreed to enter her service. She attended to everything to the satisfaction of her mistress, and always shook her bed so vigorously that the feathers flew about like snowflakes. So she had a pleasant life with her, never an angry word, and roasted meat every day. Narrator again. She stayed some time with Mother Holly, and then she became sad. At first, she did not know what was the matter with her, but found at length that it was homesickness. Although she was many times better off here than at home, still she had a longing to be there. At last, she said to the old woman, pretty daughter, I have a longing for home, and however well off I am down here, I cannot stay any longer. I must go up again to my own people. Mother Holly, I am pleased that you long for your home again, and as you have served me truly, I myself will take you up again. Narrator. Thereupon she shook by the hand. I'm sorry. Thereupon she took her by the hand and led her to the large door. The door was open, and just as the maiden was standing beneath a doorway, a heavy shower of gold ran, fell, and all the gold remained sticking to her, so that she was completely covered with gold. Mother Holly, you shall have that because you are so industrious. And at the same time, she gave back the shuttle which she had let fall into the well. Thereupon the door closed, and the maiden found herself up above the earth, not far from her mother's house. And as she went into the yard, the cock began to cry. Cock-a-doodle-doo! Your golden girls come back to you. Narrator. So she went into her mother's house, and as she arrived inside, covered with gold, the beautiful child was well received, both by her mother and her sister. Think about it. She was well received. Do you think it was because they missed her? Or do you think it was because she was covered with gold? Or could it be both? The girl told all that had happened to her, and as soon as the mother heard how she had come by so much wealth, she was very anxious to oblige and to obtain the same good luck for the ugly and lazy daughter. She had to sit herself by the well and spin, and in order that her shuttle might be stained with blood, she stuck her hand into a thorn bush and picked her finger. Then she threw her shuttle into the well and jumped in after it. This is the other ugly daughter. The ugly daughter, like her pretty sister, had come to the beautiful meadow and walked along the very same path. When she got to the oven, the bread cried again. Bread. Oh, take me out, or I shall burn. I have been baking for a long time. But the lazy thing answered quite differently from her sister. Ugly daughter. As if I had any wish to make myself dirty. And on she went. Soon she came to the apple tree. Apple tree crying, oh, shake me, shake me. We apples are all right. Ugly daughter. I'm not shaking you. One of you might fall on my head. The only thing I will be shaking is pure gold. Let's think about the ugly sister's mentality. What is this? What do these lines reveal about her? Let's go back, which is a good strategy when you're really trying to find the character of a character. It's best to go back and read the lines in isolation. The other daughter once said, in response to the bread, as if I had any wish to make myself dirty so she wouldn't get dirty, even if it meant sacrificing and helping someone else. She put her own needs first. Then to the apples and the apple tree. I'm not shaking you. One of you might fall on my head. The only thing I will be shaking is pure gold. Now, as I read this, I'm thinking and I'm inferring she's not called the ugly sister for a reason. You see, as we read, we can infer as to why the playwright refers to her as the ugly daughter or the ugly sister, and her sister as the pretty one. The playwright is speaking of internal beauty, not physical beauty, but internal beauty. The first sister, as we can see, treated everyone with kindness, where the ugly sister or the not so nice one was not so kind. Narrator. And so she went on. When the ugly daughter came to Mother Holly's house, she was not afraid, for she had already heard of her big teeth. The ugly daughter hired her own self to Mother Holly immediately. The first day, she forced herself to work diligently and obeyed Mother Holly when she told her to do anything. For the ugly daughter was thinking of all the gold that Mother Holly would give her. But on the second day, she began to be lazy. And on the third day, she still sat there doing less and less and less. And over time, the ugly daughter would not get up in the morning at all. Neither did she make Mother Holly's bed as she ought, and did not shake it so as to make the feathers fly up. Now think about that. She did not shake it so as to make the feathers fly up at all, yet the playwright highlights how the pretty sister always shook her bed so vigorously that the feathers flew about like snowflakes. Mother Holly was soon tired of this and gave her notice to what? Leave. The lazy girl was willing enough to go and thought that now the golden rain would come. Mother Holly led her to the great door, but while she was standing beneath it, instead of the gold, a big kettle full of pitch was emptied over her head. Mother Holly, that is the reward of your service, shutting the door. So the lazy girl went home, but she was quite covered with pitch. The cock by the well side, as soon as he saw her, cried, Cock, cock-a-doodle-doo, your pitchy girls come back to you. Narrator. But the pitch stuck fast to her and could not be gotten off as long as she lived. So it was stuck to her. Now, let's review some of the key ideas of the play. Let's think about the shuttle. Why is the shuttle an important prop in the play? Remember the shuttle that fell in the well? Think about why it's an important prop in the play. The shuttle advances the plot because had the pretty sister not dropped it in the well, the rest of the story would not have taken place. This was an awesome, amazing story and a big life lesson. We've been talking about theme, and I'll grab my theme board. Remember, the theme is the message, the lesson, or the moral of the story. The big idea or the lesson the author wants to take away. What do you think the theme of the story is? I say the theme is never let others define you. No matter what happened in the story, the pretty girl, despite her circumstances, it did not change her heart. And in the end, she was rewarded. We can also learn from the ugly sister because of her ways, her ugly ways, her bad attitude that her mom sort of reinforced. Her mom defined her. She rewarded her bad behavior. And in the end, she did not get the goal. Now, in summarizing the story, the summary has major components. The summary is the beginning, middle, and end. We must include the relevant information, and it must be in logical order. A good summary has a beginning, middle, and end. And one misconception that I've seen with students is that many of them feel that the summary just entails the beginning, middle, and end. We must always include relevant information, and it has to follow a logical sequential order. In thinking of this story, I began to write my summary. And you tell me if this is a great summary. Remember, I had to keep in mind that everything could not be added in the summary, but the relevant or the most important parts must be highlighted. So here's my summary. A widow favored her biological daughter, allowing her to become spoiled and idle, while her stepdaughter was left to do all the work. Every day, the stepdaughter would sit outside the cottage and spin beside the well. One day, she pricked her finger on the point of the shuttle. Leaning over the well to wash the blood away, the shuttle fell from her hand and sank to the bottom. The stepdaughter, or the pretty daughter, feared that she would be punished for losing the shuttle, and in a panic, she leapt into the well after it. To her surprise, the girl found herself on a wonderful journey that landed her in the home of Mother Holly, who kept her as a maidservant. Mother Holly was so impressed by the homesick girl's beautiful nature and great work ethic, she sent her back to her family full of gold. The mother, thinking that her own daughter should have received the gold, sent the ugly, lazy daughter down the well to work for Mother Holly. Mother Holly, displeased with her idle nature and nasty disposition, sent her back home covered with pitch. Now, as I'm reading my summary, and you will experience the same, I can see where I can even make it a little smaller by combining even more of the details. Here is your exit ticket for today. I want you to watch your favorite show, and I want you to write a summary. After writing your summary, I want you to think about it. Do you have a beginning, middle, and end? Relevant information, meaning the most important parts of the story. Does your story follow logical order? Remember, as we wrap up our unit on drama, we always want to look at the lines from the play, actions from the lines, background knowledge or schema, and ask yourself, what does this reveal about the character? We looked at the pretty daughter. We looked at all of her kindness. Despite her situation, she continued to have a great attitude, even when people or circumstances did not go in her favor. Her stepmom was very rude to her. Her stepsister was arrogant, but it did not validate who she was. She continued to let her light shine. Good readers read like playwrights. They look at character tags. They focus on stage directions. Pay attention to them. And always remember, it's not always about what people say, but we also have to look at their thoughts and their actions. So as you read and as you watch your favorite show and respond to text with writing, think about not just the words, look at the actions, look at the thoughts, and think about the author's purpose. If it's a play, we think about the playwright's purpose. And remember, good readers always read like writers.